My name's Rachel, and I'm starting this YouTube channel to chronicle my personal experiences with chronic illness. I've been in pain since I was a little kid. I was told that I was having growing pains, that it wasn't a big deal, that I would grow out of it and it would go away. I get this chest pain that feels eerily like I would assume a heart attack feels like, and as a kid I would tell my mom, my heart hurts, and we would get it checked out and the doctors would say everything was fine and it wasn't a big deal. So after the first time, she just started telling me, you're fine. I didn't like to play sports. I didn't really participate in many, but I did try softball and I was horrible at it. I was told that I run funny, and running was extremely painful for me. Nobody really seemed to understand that or believe me. They thought, I guess, that I was just lazy and I didn't want to run, but it was very difficult. I eventually quit softball. I would fall all the time as a kid. I had frequent injuries from falling. I would fall and sprain my ankle. I would fall and, scrape my knee. I tore all the ligaments in my knee falling off my bike in 2nd grade. I had to wear a full splint from my thigh down to my ankle for a long time. I actually ended up falling when I was 14 at church camp, and it was in the woods, and we were walking through the woods and the ground wasn't even, and I fell and I twisted my ankle, and I guess I had twisted it so many times that it was one too many, and I ended up rupturing some of the tendons. I had to have surgery on my left foot at 14. They went in and repaired the tendons, and they said that my bones were deformed and they had to cut them and pin them back together. And I have 2 scars on my left foot, one on the top of my foot where they went in to fix the bones, and then one on the outside of my ankle where they went in to fix the tendons. I had the surgery and it didn't really help with my instability at all. I still fell. My ankles, I say they give out, but what they're really doing, they buckle, and my ankles bend out and I end up falling. The pain started to get worse in high school. I still couldn't find a doctor who would listen to me or believe me. They just told me there was no reason for my pain. I was perfectly healthy and there was nothing wrong. I started to develop symptoms like asthma and heat intolerance and a lot of strange allergies. I was still falling all the time all through high school. And then when I got to college, there was so much walking and it was miserable. I was a music education major, and so I played cello, and I would have to carry my cello across campus with me from my dorm to go to class, and it was incredibly difficult. And by the time class was over and I got back to my dorm, I didn't want to leave and go anywhere. I didn't want to do anything else. I just wanted to lay down because my feet hurt so bad. So I avoided going places and I didn't really socialize. I didn't go to the cafeteria a lot. I pretty much lived off of ramen and things like ravioli that I could cook in the microwave in my dorm room. And I started to gain a lot of weight. So I wasn't active, I wasn't eating healthy, and just generally I felt miserable. I decided to come home to my parents' house for the weekend because my church was holding a blood drive. And I gave blood, and the nurse missed the vein, and when they miss, instead of pulling out and going back in like they're supposed to, she dug side to side and ended up slicing up some of my nerves. I had a hematoma. It was about that big on the inside of my elbow. It took many months to go away, probably close to 6 months. And I still have a lot of pain in that arm, and I went to an orthopedic surgeon, and they said I had a lot of scar tissue compressing the nerves in that arm, and so some of my pain was because of that. But they said if they went in to fix it, that it might not make it better and it could possibly make it worse. Because of this injury to my arm, I couldn't really play my cello as well as I used to be able to anymore. And I ended up dropping out. I medically withdrew and I moved back home with my parents because I just couldn't sustain playing and practicing as much as I needed to be successful as a music major. Once I was living back with my parents, I started working at a church-run day school, and I taught pre-K, and I also helped with the younger kids in the afternoons. And I was going to school online, getting my associate's degree from our local community college. I ended up injuring my back, picking up a kid to put on a changing table so that I could change them. As I was lifting the kid, I felt my back go. I went to go see my mom's neurosurgeon. She's had 3 spinal fusion surgeries and has degenerative disc disease. And he told me that I had 3 herniated discs in my lumbar region, and we did some steroid shots into my spine, and I did aquatic physical therapy to help with that. And it helped some, but the pain wasn't completely gone. And so I went back to another appointment with him, and he diagnosed me with fibromyalgia. And he said that my pain was because of the fibromyalgia and that I was just more sensitive. And he started me on Cymbalta and Lyrica for that. I took those for a while and they helped, but they caused a lot of jitters and I just wasn't comfortable with the side effects. So I ended up stopping them and I just kind of learned how to live with the pain. Then I ended up falling again and injuring my right ankle and foot this time, and I went to the same surgeon and he did the same surgery on my right foot that I had done on my left foot. This time it didn't help. It actually made things worse. My pain got worse. I feel more unstable than I felt before, and I kind of honestly regret having that surgery done. At that point, I started avoiding walking at all costs. I didn't want to cook, I didn't want to clean, I didn't want to go to the store. Even making myself get out of bed to go take a shower was difficult because walking was just excruciatingly painful. He ended up prescribing some custom orthotics, and those helped enough to where I could get around, but I still didn't feel normal. Once I finished my associate's degree, I went back to the university that I had been at to get my music education degree, and I decided just to get my general education degree with a focus in early childhood through 6th grade. So that was another few years of school, and during that time, the pain progressively got worse. I fell into depression because I couldn't keep up with my chores at home. I was living in an apartment by myself. I didn't have anybody else there to help me. I struggled even to get up and go to the grocery store. I ate a lot of takeout and a lot of junk because I was just exhausted and in pain, and I couldn't keep up with everything that I needed to do. That was very difficult for me, and eventually I ended up moving back to my parents' house and just commuting to school. I was driving a good hour and a half, sometimes as much as 2.5 hours, depending on traffic, each way. So 2.5 hours there, 2.5 hours back. And I wasn't getting enough sleep. I was exhausted, but at least I had my parents there to help take care of me, get groceries, cook, all that kind of stuff. At this point, I had also married my husband, and he was living with my parents as well. We were both living with them. And that was stressful. There were a lot of people in not enough space, but I still really appreciate the fact that they let us live with them because it really helped when I was struggling and I couldn't get things done. Having the extra hands in the house really did help. In my last semester of school, I actually got the opportunity to student teach at an elementary school about 3 minutes from my parents' house. That was amazing. It was an incredible experience. I learned so much. And I loved that school so much that I actually ended up accepting a position there full-time after I graduated. So I've been at this school for 2.5 years now. And I've been teaching 3rd grade writing, science, and social studies. And I love my job. I love what I'm doing, but my pain has become almost unbearable, and it's making my job difficult. It's making just everyday life extremely difficult. I've started having a lot of dislocations and subluxations, which are partial dislocations. And it started in my knees. My kneecaps will pull off to the side, and I have to pop my knee to get them to go back in. Then I started to have dislocations here in my shoulder and my clavicle. And sometimes my wrists and my fingers. My fingers, if even just lifting a heavy blanket can cause my fingers to dislocate. I've been wearing a lot of braces. I sleep with wrist braces on. I am looking at getting a custom knee brace. And I've started using a cane because the pain is so bad and I feel so unstable that I feel like I'm gonna fall. I was just looking around on the internet trying to figure out if there was anybody else having symptoms like me, and I came across a YouTube channel by a girl named Annie, and she talked about her journey to diagnosis, and everything she talked about and said that she went through sounded exactly like what I've been going through. And so I did some more research, and she was eventually diagnosed with something called Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome. And Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome is a genetic condition that affects your connective tissue. Your connective tissue holds everything in your body together. And part of your connective tissue is a protein called collagen. With Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, your collagen is defective. It doesn't work the way that it's supposed to. So those connective tissues in your body that are supposed to stretch and then go back like a rubber band does, stretch, but don't always go back. It can lead to a lot of laxity and instability in your joints. And so that can cause a lot of the dislocations that I've been experiencing. It can also cause vascular symptoms, cause gastrointestinal symptoms, chronic migraines, which is something that I've also been dealing with. And something that I thought was interesting was that a lot of people with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome were originally misdiagnosed with fibromyalgia. Once I started to research it more and look into the symptoms, how these people feel, and the other issues that they have, like chronic migraines, I started to realize that this may actually be something that I have. So even though I was extremely uncomfortable with the idea, I decided to go make an appointment to see a rheumatologist. I was nervous because I am so used to being told there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. Go home. There's nothing we can do to help you. But I went out on that limb and I decided to go ahead and make an appointment. My appointment is in 7 days, and I'm getting nervous. I was originally planning to ask to be tested for the hypermobility type of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. There's actually 13 different types, and the hypermobility type is the only one that they haven't found a genetic marker for, so there's no genetic test available for it yet. But then something happened that I can't talk about yet. I'll share it with you guys when I can, but it's not my story to share. So until the other person involved is comfortable talking about it, I don't really want to bring it up or say anything about it. But something happened that made me wonder if I might have classical Ehlers-Danlos syndrome instead of the hypermobility type. The good news is that there is a genetic test available to test for the classical type of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, so I'm hoping that my rheumatologist will agree to test me. I'm also hoping that she will write a note or something for me to bring to work so that I can ask for some specific accommodations that I think might make my job a little bit easier. I want to ask for the ability to wear tennis shoes every day. We're supposed to wear dress shoes, but I have trouble finding dress shoes that are comfortable that I can wear for an extended period of time. So I'm hoping that with a note from her, I'll be able to wear tennis shoes that have orthotics. I'm also hoping to keep a mini fridge in my classroom so that I can keep ice packs in the room, so that if I have a day where I'm really sore or something is swelling, I can pull out an ice pack and use that during class. I'm also going to talk with her about not going on any extended field trips that involve a lot of walking, or the possibility of bringing my electric wheelchair on those field trips. I do have an electric wheelchair that I just recently purchased because I have felt like I'm stuck in my house and I can't get out and go anywhere. The pain makes it so that I don't ever want to leave and go places with my husband or my family. And so I bought the electric wheelchair so that I could go places like the zoo or museums or on vacation, so that I could go places where I would be walking a lot and not have to worry about the pain. I'm not planning to bring the electric wheelchair with me to work, but in the future I may need to. I'm hoping that I don't. I'm hoping that things don't progress that far, but if I'm right and I do have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, it is a degenerative disease. It's very common to have things like degenerative disc disease, which my mother has, and a lot of times you'll find that people with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, their pain gets worse the older they get. I'm trying to think ahead to my future and plan for that, and I think that having that electric wheelchair here to rely on will be extremely beneficial. If you have any questions about EDS or about my personal experience or anything I've talked about, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. I will also place a link to Annie's YouTube channel in the description below. If you have time, definitely go and check out her YouTube channel. She posts a lot of videos about Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, as well as videos advocating for accessibility and disabled rights, and videos that talk about body image and LGBTQ issues and lots of different things. So I definitely recommend that you go check out her channel. If I hadn't found her channel, I might not be as close to a diagnosis as I am, and my life might be completely different. I might never find out what's wrong with me. So I'm extremely grateful for her and her work and all of her videos and the things that she posts, because they've really kind of helped me to understand what's going on, and hopefully they're going to help me find my diagnosis. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll post another video to update after my appointment.